Hello and welcome to another episode of Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast. We're in association with Lucky Star Gin. I'm your host Mike, and with me on our panel today we have got Neil and Harry. In this episode we are going to be briefly discussing the visit of Oldham, and we will look forward to playing on the wrong day against Gateshead. Love hearing from you, love the comments, engagement, all the rest of it. Please chat with other fans. Let me know what you think. Let me know your thoughts on future episodes and questions. Like, shares, and comments really, really do help us grow. And I love all those thumbs up. You know that. We're going to jump in. Neil, firstly, how are you? And secondly, are you ever going to invite your friend from yesterday to football at Sutton United ever again?
I'm fine. I'm, getting over my bout of the dreaded COVID. And yes, Caroline is now banned from Gander Green Lane. But we might risk an away game.
Okay, fair dues. I mean, what was it? Was it 5 games now?
4. No, she's 4 from 4.
4 from 4.
And she didn't come last season, so she can't be blamed for that because he was coming to the Crawley game, the one that got cancelled with a frozen pitch. So
fair enough. And Harry, the man with the scan. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good.
Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm always all right. It's been a while because you fell foul to the same thing as Andrew, where suddenly people disappeared from my guest list.
Yeah.
So it's been a while for you, but you're good. You're still playing.
Yeah, I've had a few sort of games with the community team, and I've got a game next Saturday against Chelsea, which I'm in and ahhing. Do I play or do I go to Braintree? But going off how Saturday game went, I'm sort of drawing towards going to play my football.
I think most people who are able to play, I don't include myself in this, would say definitely go and play. Play all you can while you can.
Yes.
Right, so both of you only got the invite earlier, so you haven't had a lot of time to do your homework that I set. So there is going to be a jingle coming in now. I asked you both if you could watch any historic match again for the first time. I meant it as a Sutton United match, obviously, but I didn't write it down. Which match would it be and why would it be? Neil, if we start with you, what game would you like to be able to watch again for the very first time?
It would have to be our title-winning, promotion-winning game against Hartlepool because I couldn't be there, so I had to watch it on the telly. So it wasn't the same. So, it would have been nice to be one of those people who genuinely says, I was there. Because there seems to be more people claiming to be at that game than were actually physically able to be. So
True. I mean, I was there on that one.
Yes. I'm with you on that one, Mike. I was lucky. I was one of the lucky and fortunate ones to be there as well.
Yeah. But you're right. It was an odd game, actually, to be at because it was kind of really just a strange atmosphere until we went. People are saying the second goal, but it's actually the third goal that made everyone go, or in my opinion, it made everyone go, oh my God, we've done this. Oh my God, what's happening?
Yes.
But yeah, that's a really good shout. And Harry, what about yourself? What game would you like to watch?
I was exactly thinking the same game that Neil has just sort of alluded to. Just considering we hadn't been in the Football League for, correct me if I'm wrong, over 100 and such years. So just to sort of just see that, revisit that sort of game to sort of just get us into the Football League. Just an unbelievable day.
Yeah, absolutely. My other one probably would be the Wimbledon FA Cup one, because again that was just a strange whole little atmosphere, and then suddenly it went brilliant and really well. And but taking away the nerves to watch those games again would be quite nice. But let us know your answers. I'd love to hear from you. What game would you love to watch for the very first time? Could say the Coventry match, but I didn't watch it the first time, so I can't say again for the first time. But so that would be cheating. there's bits and pieces going around the club. All the ladies' teams matches were called off for the weather in various different locations, so there's nothing to report there. I did do some interviews in the hospitality yesterday. I was very honoured to be asked to interview some of the players and former players. Not sure I'll be asked again because I had Mr. Ransom come in and I interviewed him. I spoke to him beforehand and had a good chat, called him by his name, got on stage and then promptly called him Matthew. And at the end of it, I then called him Harry and then said, "Oh no, sorry, Matthew." And he was like, "No, Harry was all right, you're fine." So don't know what happened there, but also had a really good chat with Mickey. So anyone who went along to hear from Mickey, I do apologise. I wasn't intending to do the interview. I didn't know I was doing it until the day before, so I wasn't trying to make you all listen to me again. But yeah, it's lots of good news, and especially like the cup draw still. Very, very excited. What are your thoughts on that cup draw, Harry?
It's just a sort of unbelievable sort of draw. Just be so sort of, I think, lucky to sort of just be plucked out to sort of get the biggest sort of team left in the sort of in the competition, and to have it at home and it being televised is just unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of want the lowest team ranked at home is your first choice, isn't it, Neil? But other than that, you go, all right, we'll have the money, thanks a lot. But what are your thoughts on it, Neil? I mean, the players and all the staff apparently are banned from talking about this, but we're not. So what do you think about that draw, Neil?
Thinking back to some of the games in the past where we've got a big game coming up, because it means absolutely diabolical the result a few days before the game. We're bound to lose 5 or 6-0, but at least we won't be playing Dover.
In the freezing cold.
Yeah, we've got nothing to lose. So we're going to get money from the TV, which would be good. It'd be publicity, and I suspect, ironically, the players will play better because there'll be less pressure, because all the pressure will be on the Birmingham guys. So, either way, it will be a good game. It'll be great entertainment, I suspect. And who knows?
Yeah, well,
we've done it before.
Exactly. Let's let them take us lightly. Let's play rubbish and never know. So for the Oldham game, Harry, we'll start with you. What were your pre-match thoughts and expectations?
Sort of going off the back of the sort of how the sort of Chertsey sort of game planned out and went. So taking that forward into the sort of Oldham game, I was very much sort of like unsure on how the game was going to sort of affair and sort of, I think, plan out with like the big stature of how the big opposition Oldham are, and with such sort of vast sort of experience they've obviously sort of got in the National League, and some of the players they've obviously sort of got, and what their aim and objective is to sort of try and get themselves back into the Football League where they felt they belong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Neil, what were your thoughts? I mean, I know you got the lineup dead on, but what were your thoughts on the match, on the lineup and the expectations? Sorry.
So, as you know, lineup was exactly as I expected, and so 11 out of 11 there. And I expected and predicted it would be a high-scoring game. I thought it was going to be a 5-goal game.
Right.
And sadly, I did predict that we were going to lose, because I just felt that Oldham would just have too much for us. And they've got a very good defence, as they showed. And I just thought at the moment we've got too many inexperienced players in the wrong place. And we would get caught out set pieces and crosses into the box. So, in terms of my prowess as a pundit, I'm saying that was 100% predictive.
Well, I went for 3-1 scoreline. It's obviously the other way round, but I still went for 3-1. I got the right score. But the opening 10 didn't seem overly bad. I mean, there were people around me who utterly disagreed with me, because I was like, well, apart from the mistake on the goal, I don't think we've been that bad. Now, what game are you watching? What did you think? So Neil, we'll start with you on this one. What did you think for the opening minutes and up to the goal, which I haven't actually watched any of the goals back yet because I just couldn't do it to myself. But what did you think for first view and then the opening goal?
First few minutes, either team looked capable of scoring, had chances. It looked as if it was going to be an open game, and I'd already sort of said to Caroline, my friend, that Stevie Arnold had already had a couple of handling howlers, but was brilliant at shots. But let's just hope that we don't get any more soft headers, because those seem to be his Achilles heel at the moment. At which point, soft header, and it went in.
Yeah. Harry, what was your view? Were you out, finish your work by this point, or were you watching?
Yes, I was able to sort of get to into the ground for when the game sort of started.
Okay, so what did you think about the opening sort of 10, 15 minutes and the goal?
I thought the opening sort of 10 to 15 minutes, I thought it was sort of a fairly sort of end-to-end sort of game. So both teams sort of knew what was sort of at stake, going for it sort of thing. But then I just thought, as the sort of the game was sort of further going on into the game, I think Oldham, with such a young squad we've sort of posed, they started to impose themselves on us. So then it sort of just felt like they were growing in the sort of game, and we just couldn't quite get to sort of grips with the way they were sort of going about the game, their game plan. So then I just felt it wasn't long before that a goal was coming for them.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, from the goal, things got a bit bitty from our point of view, and the only other sort of major talking point for me for the first half was Lewis tried to cross it with his right foot and injured himself. I'm not entirely sure that's related, but we're not actually sure what's happened to him yet. I did sort of just say what happened. He's I've got no idea. So how did you see the injury, and how big a miss will Lewis be, depending on how long he's out, obviously? Harry, we'll start with you on that one.
I didn't really sort of see how the injury. I just saw he sort of, I think, looked like from my sort of angle, how he just sort of, I think, rolled his sort of ankle sort of one way when he went to sort of, I think, cross it sort of thing. But then obviously sort of like when he was sort of like hobbling off round sort of thing, it's sort of like, I think just made me sort of realise I think it's actually probably maybe worse than actually first thought. And I feel like with obviously such a sort of a young side, I feel like his added experience in the middle of the park will be quite valuable, because he's quite like an integral sort of part. But I just feel we just need a bit of someone like more like an experienced sort of player sort of alongside him, because now he's sort of come out the squad. We just don't know who's going to sort of step up to be that experienced player in the centre of the park.
Yeah, I mean, we've also just let Jack Wadham go on loan for a little while, so I don't know whether we'll be calling him back or not, which would be disappointing for him and Worthing. But Neil, what did you think? It's always a worry when there's no one around a player and it's not an impact, and suddenly they get injured and it's clearly a bad one, because otherwise, he wouldn't have come off. I saw a picture of him from a few weeks ago where he had been clattered and his foot was utterly bruised, and he was still refusing to take any kind of I'm not missing the game. So he's clearly bad if he's coming off. But what did you think, Neil?
I didn't think it's his knee. I think he's gone over on his ankle, as Harry said. It's one of those, could be a couple of weeks, he could be out for months. He's been our best player. He's potentially been, one of the best players in the whole National League.
Yeah.
Who can tell?
Yeah.
But it's just what we didn't want.
No, of course. No, of course. I mean, he said, "Oh, hopefully I'll be back playing soon." And I'm always torn, because obviously these players you want them back on the pitch because we support Sutton, but then it's like Yeah, I'd rather you come back strong than soon. I'll be quite honest with you. I'd much rather. And on injuries, I caught up with Jacko yesterday, and I was just asking about his iron. He's having an operation, and it's a lot worse than I think any of us realised. And he was like, "Oh, hopefully we'll be back." And I went, "I don't care whether you come back, just get your eye fixed, mate." To be quite honest with you, but we got cut short because I think it was the under-12s wanted some photos with some of the players. So I know where my place is. I ran away and let them do the photos with the kids because that's far more important than waffling to me. I didn't really have anything else for the first half. Did either of you? Was there anything you wanted to talk about, or no? Okay. So second half.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, Mike, was the first half was that terrible miss by Will, wasn't it? When he ended up with the ball, and he just did a pathetic little header towards the goalkeeper instead of letting it drop and
sort of putting his foot through it.
He should have put his foot through it. I was behind 3 of Harry's mates from the disability side.
Mm-hmm.
And they all agreed that any of them would have scored in that position because they'd have all let it drop and then kicked it.
Yes.
Harry wouldn't have. I've seen Harry. Yeah, I'd forgotten about that, to be honest. So I erased that from my memory. But the second half, he redeemed himself with some very quick reactions. Josh sent in a nice free kick. It was kind of scrambled around a little bit and then come off the post going across the face of goal, and he very quickly reacted to nod it in. How were you feeling at that point, Harry, when we just got back into it so quickly after the half started?
So I was quite obviously sort of pleased because we've obviously just got ourselves sort of just back into the sort of game just off the back of sort of half time. So I thought there's an incentive here. We're back in the sort of game. So it's back to sort of how the sort of I think the sort of game sort of started. How it was like both teams are sort of I think on the same sort of boat. We're drawing here, so that I thought this might just sort of just gain us some form of a bit of momentum. Because we just sort of scored, but then like it just didn't. It had the opposite effect.
Yeah, we'll come to that in a sec. But Neil, how were you thinking of Will's goal and sort of getting back into the game so quickly after half time?
It was a great delivery in from Josh. Good. The first header was good from Will, and he did react brilliantly. Oldham were asleep; they were still sucking on their half-time oranges, so it's the perfect time to get a goal back. And then I said, what was important is we don't concede straight away.
Right. So
and we did.
I'm seeing a bit of a pattern here. You said we have this thing of conceding with soft headers, and then they scored with a soft header shortly afterwards. You said, hopefully we won't concede straight away, and they did. Do you think you should maybe stop saying these things out loud now? I mean, yeah. Just. Yeah.
It's my fault. Yes,
you're manifesting it into existence. But I again haven't watched it back. But what about? Did either of you think it was a free kick? Steve certainly didn't think it was a free kick, and then even said, "Well, even if it was a free kick, I don't understand how it's a booking." But what were your thoughts on the equaliser, the free kick, and another sort of soft-ish, uncontested header? Neil, we'll start with you.
Well, considering that Oldham were very good with the slightest of touches going down and doing the dead and dying act, Chin comes across, gets the ball, tackles in from the side, it's controlled, and the Oldham guy doesn't go down. He carries on running. So it wasn't really, to me, if you don't go down, it's not really a foul. He didn't foul the guy.
Right.
Because he got far more of the ball. He got very little of the guy. If the guy had thought he'd been a contact, I'm sure he would have gone down like a sack of potatoes, and he didn't. So I don't think even the Oldham guy thought he was fouled.
Right. Well, let's get Harry's take as a player. Do you feel you have to go down if there's contact, or will you always try and stay on your feet?
You don't. I think you just got to try and sort of just be sort of honest with it, sort of thing. Like if you feel like there's contact and you feel like you can sort of stand sort of like the minute, because some people just go down at the minimal sort of contact, and the referees just sort of buy that sort of thing. So then, and then a lot of the referees sort of fall for that from a lot of those sort of, I think, like professionals, because they're just so good at doing it.
Mm-hmm. And so what did you think of the free kick? I saw you shaking your head, but we're doing the audio, obviously. What was your thoughts on the free kick and the goal?
I thought it was a very sort of, I think, soft free kick from the referee sort of gave, because everyone sort of just moved sort of, I think, around the sort of, I think, ground, sort of just to sort of epitomise that, because everyone just thought, as I think, as well as I think Steve Morrison sort of, I think, thought like he was a bit shocked as to sort of why it was sort of given as a free kick, and I think like I think their supporters were, but they didn't really sort of I think like really much of it. I think from what I recall.
Would we have thought it was a free kick if it was given to us? Both of you.
We probably would, because with sort of, I think, Sutton, because a lot of things don't go our favour, and we would just want sometimes the first things, if in a sort of game like this, sort of just to sort of feel like just to get something out of sometimes, because sometimes we don't get an awful lot from referees, even if we don't think it's a foul sort of thing. But sometimes it's just nice to have that bit of sometimes like on our side.
Yeah. I mean, that's always my little test, is if that was given against us or for us, would I be raging about it? Neil, you nodded and said, yeah, if it was, you'd be questioning, going, but I'd want it.
Oh, you're always going to take a free kick, as Harry said. We seem to, I know, this is amber glass bias. We never seem to get them.
Yeah, no, it's... It's confirmation bias. You remember the ones we do or don't get, but you don't remember the ones that we or the other way around. I know what I meant to say. But anyway, so Steve is kind of it was a bit of a fresh air, and you couldn't always tell what was going to go on. But 60 minutes up, and the two wingers come off, which I think is a fairly going to be a fairly regular practice. You're expecting them to run into the ground, although I'm not sure they did. But was that a change you were expecting, Harry, or were you thinking that we could have left them on for a bit longer?
I feel like with obviously how Josh Coley has been this sort of season, the standout sort of player, I feel like in a sort of a game like this, he still could have had something like a spark to sort of I think give us. So like with how sort of I think tight contested it still was at that point, I think because he was probably our most outlet of our highest sort of goal scorer, I would have maybe at least kept him on to sort of give him a bit longer to see if he can impose himself on their defence to try and cause a few problems. But as for the sort of maybe other winger who didn't really have much sort of involvement in the sort of game, maybe freshening it up on that side was a sort of, I think, a right sort of move to try and obviously offer a different dimension to see if that would obviously work in our favour.
Yeah. And Neil, what about yourself? Would you think that Josh and De Silva could work together?
I slightly disagree with what was happening. Josh came off because he wasn't as effectual, because they'd obviously identified him as a major outlet, so they were doubling up on him. So he was having quite a rough time. Ashley Addison was taken off because he'd had that yellow card for the supposed late tackle, which I've looked back on before. The Oldham guy, Lundstrom, had fouled Josh Coley, then went in very hard and was lucky that he got to the ball just before Ashley. Ashley jumps away and catches the guy and then goes tumbling. The ref books Addison. There's a bit of afters, and it was obviously Ashley was absolutely spitting blood. You could see he was out to get. So I think that was partly precautionary to stop him picking up a red.
Yeah.
Because he was incensed. So I think it was protective for him because he'd been played very well. He'd got some really ridiculous balls that looked as if they were running out. He managed to catch them in the corner. He was showing how actually he's got as much pace as the supposed pacey wingers. So
Yeah.
I think it was protective for him, and the guys coming on did make a difference. And Dylan looks as if he's getting a bit of his confidence and spark back now. So, so hopefully more minutes in his legs, that's going to reap benefits later on. I can see him playing with Dylan because Josh will go on to the other wing.
Yeah, I mean, be a bit harsh on Civi, who actually did really well, but there's no reason why you couldn't play one of them behind as well. So, I mean, Josh kept when he used to play last season on the wing, he kept wandering in the middle anyway. So you could put him there. But the third goal, suspicion of offside again. I've not watched it back, but
me neither.
Norwood being 110, getting that far past the defence, you got to wonder was he an offside position or not? There was a lot of people saying it. I didn't look at it, and I was just like shaking my head at that point. But Neil, did you look back? Did it seem offside to you?
It was marginal. So if we'd have had the benefit, in inverted commas, VAR, it would have certainly gone to VAR, and who knows. But it wasn't so much the fact that he was offside. It was yet another uncontested header in the box. That's, that's all 4 goals in the game were headers, which is unusual.
Okay, I thought you were going to say uncontested headers. I was going to say, well, Will's goal, you can't really call that an uncontested. It was, but it's a bit harsh.
The 3 we defended.
Yeah. What about yourself, Harry? What did you think of the third goal? Did you have any thoughts, or were you heading to the bar at that point as well?
I don't really remember the third goal and whether it was margins for sort of offside or sort of not, but obviously the after part when it sort of came into the box like there was nobody sort of marking, so then it just then they just had a sort of free header, so then it just sort of was very much like their other goals they had.
So yeah, Steve wasn't very happy in his post match, but we're 13th. There's been various comments. It's always interesting because when we lose, there's a lot more comments to pick from to talk about because a lot more people have things to say. There was one person saying we're going to get relegated, blah, blah, blah. And I had a little look and we are 13th. If we are 7 points away from the relegation zone, but if we add those 7 points on, we are 4th. So we're basically bang in the middle. we're 7 points away from being 4th from bottom or 4th from top. We're absolutely bang in the middle. Is this where you think we should be, Harry, or is there any unluckiness in there at the moment, or do you think it's just we're about bang on where we should be?
I think with such a sort of a young sort of squad and a whole sort of new sort of squad with maybe the additions of some with a few experienced players, just looking at sort of where we are, there's always going to sort of be the up and sort of down results. But I think fans have got to sort of understand sort of thing. So like looking at sort of where we are, I think it's a sort of a good sort of maybe don't know if it's a good sort of reflection, but if you sort of look at the table and say we're 13th, it's not the worst in the world sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean Neil, if we're 13th and people think we're playing bad, then surely that's a good springboard to when things start coming together. But what were your thoughts on where we are and how things are going?
Compared to last season, I don't think the gods are against us. We're not sort of getting a lot of bad luck. I don't think we're actually getting a lot of good luck. So I think we're about where our performances deserve, and it is again a young, inexperienced team, and we're generally getting found out. Our weaknesses are getting exploited, and we're getting found out. So,
Yeah, I mean, some of the comments were surrounding around that with we need some experienced heads. And I did see somewhere, I can't remember where, so forgive me, whoever it was, saying, is the young side mantra, stick with us, young side, any starting to wear thin, like Matt last year saying, oh, we're just gelling. So what's your thoughts on it? Do you feel we need an experienced head, or do you think it's going to come, Neil?
if we get two of our experienced defenders back, we need Harry Ransom back in the centre of defence. If you've got him alongside Chinakoli or Tyler French, we're so much better.
Mm-hmm.
We would have defended those balls into the box so much better.
Yeah.
We need either Jacko back or obviously this the new kid from Ipswich who sadly is not fit yet.
Yeah.
And I think Charlie is being found out at left back at the moment. I think his head's dropping a bit, so it would be potentially better to perhaps have a five at the back, perhaps Adivino as alongside him. He just needs a little bit more cosseting to help him out. So I think we've got the experienced heads there. It's just unfortunate at the moment we can't get them on the pitch, or they're not on the pitch in the right place.
True. But itself, Harry, what do you think about the young side? Is it wearing thin, and do we need that experience? I mean, I see that Gape signed for. Oh, I can't remember who it was. Someone, and I was like, oh, he would have been quite handy to just pick up and stick in the team for a month or so. But what do you think, Harry?
I think there is a lot of experienced, aged people, and sort of within the sort of team to sort of take on the responsibility of sort of working and helping out the sort of the younger players within the sort of the squad to sort of help us moving forward.
Mm-hmm. And there was one comment: Morrison out. Harry, there was lots of answers on the thing, and most of them were around the fact he spelled Morrison with two R's. But you pulled a face. But again, what do you think? What's your words?
Now, I don't understand why people are making that sort of rash call so sort of like early on into the season and stuff. Yeah. Like it's sort of like it's such a sort of young squad. It's so long in the sort of season and stuff. Well, but I think it's just a sort of a rush of sort of blood. Someone's just making that sort of after just how that sort of game's just gone, and they just think first things first, Morrison out sort of thing. There's just sort of that sort of sense of frustration that we've lost sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Neil, you shook your head and pulled a face as well. But what do you think about that kind of comment?
I just don't see what it achieves. Well, Stephen Morrison is not a bad manager. At the moment, it's the players who are letting him down. I don't think it's fundamentally anything that he's doing wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it's just those little better choices and better decision making, and a lot of those things are going to just come from some of these players. I haven't played regularly. Some of them have, but some of these players playing academy football haven't played regular men's football. So it's all going to come. I think I've said for quite a long time. I think if we still are in and around, by the time we get to Christmas, this team's going to go on a run, and I will stick by that. I'll stick by it in Easter as well. We'll see. Right. So we're going to finish up with the game yesterday, but there are one little other thing to do. Obviously, the jingle's going to go in here. It's the good, the bad, and the ugly. So it's all about the match day experience. and your day in total, Harry. So you don't have to just choose the pitch, what happened on the pitch. But what was good for you yesterday?
What was good for me sort of yesterday? I'd say probably the amount of money we made probably from the away and the away end from the amount of supporters sort of Oldham sort of brought down to sort of generate a good atmosphere from their end sort of thing. Yeah. Even though we were trying to sort of generate a good atmosphere from where we were, from how the game was sort of watching it, we couldn't quite.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, funny enough, I did have a chat with someone saying we need to kind of get that 12th man thing going. The old argument is it down to the players to get us going? Is it down to us to get the players going, and so on? But yeah, you're quite right. One other thing I forgot to mention about the Oldham fans is they put their bloody flags up over the beautiful curver. What is wrong with them? It's sacrilege. Anyway, Neil, what was good about the day for you yesterday?
Well, you might have the answer to this, or it might be the bad. So I can't remember whether prior to the game I changed my first goal scorer from Ashley Nadesan to Will Davies, or whether I changed it from Will Davies to Ashley Nadesan. Because if I changed it to Davies, then it was good.
Hang on, let me see if I can see it. I think I might have closed it all down. No, I've closed that down. You'll find out. I can't remember. Only one person got 6 points, so probably it wasn't you.
Because in my mind, I changed it to Will Davies, because if it was Will Davies, then I got 6 points. But, you know,
I'll tell you after.
Yeah, so that might be the good, but otherwise I would say that the sun shone because I was expecting it to be peeing down with rain.
Yes, me too.
And so that was definitely the good, that the sun shone.
Okay, so your bad is either the wrong goal scorer or...
Oh, the bad was I bought my friend, and because she's now 4 from 4. So
lovely. Harry, what was bad for you?
Obviously, the result, the main thing, sort of thing, and just the same sort of I think this individual sort of the same sort of I think the mistakes this young sort of squads that is still making. It's not like we're eradicating it sort of thing. Like we think like it's gonna sort of not be there in the same sort of game, but it just keeps happening.
Yeah. No, true. And what was funny about... I think I said the good, bad and ugly, but it's funny. What was funny about the yesterday for you, Harry? Again, anything. It doesn't have to be on the pitch. It could be anything at all.
I don't actually know, to be honest.
Okay, you definitely weren't in the hospitality to hear me introduce Harry Ransom as Matthew. But Neil, what was funny for you?
You've just alluded to it. It was the fact that Jenny was wetting herself with excitement that she basically had got my funny for me, because she said Mike potentially couldn't get anything right in regarding anybody's name.
It wasn't just the introduction; it was the correction at the end. That was the bit that made me just kind of shake my hand. Anyone can get it wrong, but it was like, it's saying the right name and then going, oh no, changing it. Donut. I did introduce Mickey Joyce as Matthew Joyce as well, and Bruce said everyone in the room, every male had to be called Matthew, just for me. So thanks a lot, Bruce.
But I did like the bit that you told me about saying about how Mickey Joyce had come from one of the club legend to car park attendant, and how the mighty have fallen. No.
He corrected me on that. It's car park super attendant. So there was a promotion I was unaware of. But yeah, he did agree in a room full of people, 90 people, that he said he would come on the podcast. So yeah, Blackmail 101. So unfortunately, you're not going to hear my little preview with the Gateshead fella. but it's going to come in now. Okay, and we're going to have a little preview of our Gateshead match. Full disclosure, we're doing this before the round of games at the weekend, so either we lost, drew, or won, but hey, whatever, we'll pretend. We're doing this so we can make sure we're in the programme for the Gateshead one, because it's a double programme, and I forgot. So this week we are joined by David, who is a member of the Heed Army. Sorry, Dave, I've just seen you put Dave on your link there.
Either or.
It all works this side. Thanks for joining us. Can you tell us a little bit about your Gateshead history and a little bit about the podcast that you guys do, the content channel?
So I've been following Gateshead since 1997 was my first full season. First season was relegation, so I don't know what was in the pies, but I still came back, and I've been stuck with it ever since. And then we started the podcast in about 2010. It was an audio version only, and as you imagine, there's been a few incarnations where it's went into a live audio show, like a radio show online, and then to what it is now is like a live TV show, so to speak, on YouTube. And we do match day commentary as well, which I'm very proud of. And yeah, it's been a journey that I never thought would ever happen.
Well, last one of these I did was with an Oldham fan who started sort of the year Mark Hughes scored that goal against them, and he said it's been 30 years of relegations, nothing to cheer about since. So it's like you realise at that point you're like, oh, okay, we've got it all right. We're not bad.
Yeah, it's not too bad, is it?
So, what were your expectations going into the season? Was yours similar to the rest of the fan base, and how has it gone so far?
I think everyone was quite optimistic. There was whispers that came out from the that there was going to be a league AGM, because of course last season we couldn't get promoted because of our lease because the council owned ground. We're led to believe that the EFL have had a vote and changed it so you only need a 5-year lease now, which is quite ironic because when you're in the football league, it doesn't really matter, because we've seen football clubs bounce around from different ground to ground. So on that front, we're not too worried about not being able to get up. We started off, of course, with Rob Elliott in charge, who, of course, won the FA Trophy for us at the back end of last season, which was amazing. We finished in the playoffs. Less said about that, the better. Obviously, we couldn't take part. We kept a majority of the squad. We lost a few players to the higher levels, which you always thought was going to happen because we had some standout performances last year. So for us to be in the playoff mix was probably the hope. We started off like a house on fire, and we were top of the league for the first month and a bit, and it looked like we thought, well, hang on a second, we're beating some decent sides here, we can stay here. And then obviously the manager left for Crawley, and the grass isn't always green, as they say. So yeah, but we're still at this moment in time at a point of recording where we still don't have a manager, so we're hoping for that to be announced anytime soon. And all signs point to it being someone that was involved with the club under the last two managers, so it shouldn't be too different.
Excellent. What do you see at the moment? And obviously this is going to change with manager potentially, but what do you see as the main sort of strengths and weaknesses at this point? And is there any players that we are going to be looking forward to playing against?
Of course, we play. I've heard a lot of commentators on National League TV will turn around and say Manchester City's got a lot to answer for the way Pep plays football, and because Gateshead are very possession based, we will play back to our goalkeeper, who will be 30-40 yards out, playing like a centre back. We will reset from the back and try and either get the ball through the middle or on the wings. It isn't a set thing. We can go long. So but we do predominantly start from the back. I know that probably sounds daft. Most teams do, from let's say from a goal kick. But we will pass it back to the centre backs. We play 3 at the back, and then it'll be a way of marshalling it through. So that's our strengths: getting the ball on the ground and keeping the ball, and making the other teams work to get it off us. Our strengths is that. The weakness, you would say that we're probably not the tallest side in the league. And also as well, we've lost 2 defenders to injury, and one of the defenders left because he was the assistant manager, has went to Crawley. So our back 3 has completely changed. We've only got one of the original that started the season. We've got a couple of loan players in there, but hopefully by Christmas we'll have the the more established players back.
And who is it we should be watching out for? Who gets you out of the seat?
I think it sounds silly, but for us, the centre back Robbie Tinkler, if he's fit and playing, a lot comes through him. Where he'll start the play off from the back. If he sees a run, he'll ping it through. And then just in front of the defence, Regan Booty. Regan Booty's, his assists this season and some of his goals have been absolutely fantastic. So if Regan's in the mood to pass the ball about, because every so often the National League Twitter account does put up a pass chart, and it does look like the special kid in the class is loose with the crayons, which is fantastic. But it's just, I think since the manager's left, he's had a little dip, but hopefully we'll get him back firing very soon.
And how do you see the match against Sutton going? What do you think could be the key battlegrounds?
I think midfield. That's been the tail of the tape for Gateshead's last few games since the manager left. The midfield hasn't been firing on all cylinders. When the midfield is in the mood, they can carve open anybody, and arguably most of them should be playing at a higher level. But yeah, the midfield is going to be the battleground where the game's won and lost. I think if Gateshead can keep possession, then chances will be created.
Perfect. And the headline that will go in the programme, what's your score prediction?
Oh, I'm going to go tight one. I think it'll be 2-1 either side. I'm not going to nail my colours to the mast. I think it's going to be a very tight game and 2-1 to either side.
Okay, I'll look forward to how Lars going to put that in the programme.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dave. Thanks for the insights and good luck for host of the season. And take care. I know you're going live in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, and 15 minutes. It's already got plenty of time.
Excellent. Thanks a lot, Dave. Take care.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Thanks, mate.
So we are playing on Wednesday, which is going to mess up everyone's week. What he was saying, they like to play it around a bit, but one thing to mention is we recorded early to get it in the programme, and he did mention on there that, we're recording early, and at the time we haven't got a manager, and then 24 hours later they appointed a new manager. So it all looks nice and out of date. But he mentioned they like to play it out from the back and pass the ball around. So, Harry, how do you think that's going to go with our very, very good pressing game? Do you think that's going to play into our hands, or do you think that we could come unstuck?
Well, there's sort of going about it the right sort of, I think, pressing sort of game. We sort of just sort of need to sort of know when to sort of go and sort of, I think, press as a sort of, because you don't want to sort of just, because if we sort of just go full gun, like gun ho and press, depending on how they sort of like can play out, they could just sort of play through us. Should we not tackle it with the right sort of approach? We just need to sort of go in with it, the sort of the right nose, sort of like maybe sort of doubles, so everyone sort of knows their roles, sort of thing.
Yeah, I think that if they're the team, I've been told by someone, I can't remember who, so forgive me, whoever it is, but it's the if they're doing this thing where the goalkeeper plays it out short to the centre backs, Neil, we should find that we're going to get some joy from pressing them. But then again, if they know that, then they may not do it anymore. But how do you see the game going, and who do you think we should kind of look out for? Should we just stick to our own strengths, never mind about them?
I think we will play our game. You know, the high press certainly might have some effect if they're going to play it out from the back, because best will in the world, National League teams will make more mistakes playing it out from the back than Man City will play it out from the back. So, and other teams have got caught out against us so far this season with doing it. I suspect with Lewis going out, that may very well change the shape of the lineup, because there's no way he's going to be playing on Wednesday. So, it will be a question of will Steve go 5 at the back, or we might even put 5 across midfield. So that I think there's going to be a slight difference in the way that we play. But I think that the press, certainly from Harris and Davis, will maybe crucial and maybe effective.
Yeah, excellent. Well, we're going to we're already getting to the point of wrapping it up. So Neil, you know what question is coming up next. I think you're second in the league. I did pop that up on the. I sent the link out for that earlier. Can't find it now, but I think you're second, a little bit behind Chalmers. But what is your early prediction? And again, as always, you can change this, so you can double bluff as much as you like with Chalmers. What do you think?
I haven't really sort of honed in on it yet, and unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to watch the match, so it'll be difficult. So I'm feeling at the moment it's possibly going to be a 2-2 draw.
Okay, lovely. And Harry, what's your prediction?
The way some other sort of games have sort of gone for us, I feel like because it's a sort of midweek game Wednesday, I feel like there might be a sort of change in sort of performance, and we might sort of just come out edge it on top 2-1.
Okay, lovely. I mean, the thing to think about is Wednesday is their day off, so it's going to change everything for them this week. I haven't really thought about it, but I'm going to go with. Let's go with 3-2. Let's make it a nice, high, exciting game to warm us up on a Wednesday evening. 3-2 to Sutton, and my goal scorer is going to be Will Davies. Okay, so I'm going to wrap up the episode. Rambled on enough about defeat, but as always, we appreciate your attention and feedback. Get involved in knowing you question. Which match would you love to see again for the very first time? Follow, like, share this episode at Sutton Podcast on all social medias. Subscribe, like, review the platform, the podcast on your platform even, and leave us the thumbs up as well. We are back on Thursday, so unlike Aaron, I remembered the game is on Wednesday, and we're recording on Thursday, and we will be reviewing the Gateshead match with Paul and Gabrielle. So thank you to our sponsors, Lucky Star Gin. Thank you to Harry and Neil. Thanks to your listeners, and hope you've enjoyed this episode of Sutton Podcast. Take care and goodbye.